The Nutcracker is a two-act ballet, originally choreographed by Marius Petipa and Ivanov, with a score by Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. The libretto is adapted from E.T.A.Hoffmann's story The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, by way of Alexander Dumas' adapted story The Nutcracker. It was given its premiere at the Mariinsky Theatre in St. Petersburg on Sunday, December 18, 1892, on a double bill with Tchaikovsky's opera Atlanta. Although the original production was not a success, the 20-minute suite that Tchaikovsky extracted from the ballet was. However, the complete Nutcracker has enjoyed enormous popularity since the late 1960s, and is now performed by countless ballet companies, primarily during the Christmas season, especially in North America. Major American ballet companies generate around 40% of their annual ticket revenues from performances of the Nutcracker. Tchaikovsky's score has become one of his most famous compositions, in particular the pieces featured in the suite. Among other things, the score is noted for its use of the celesta, an instrument that the composer had already employed in his much lesser-known symphonic ballad The Voivode composition. After the success of The Sleeping Beauty in 1890, Ivan Vsevolozhsky, the director of the Imperial theaters, commissioned Tchaikovsky to compose a double-bill program featuring both an opera and a ballet. The opera would be Atlanta. For the ballet, Tchaikovsky would again join forces with Marius Petipa, with whom he had collaborated on The Sleeping Beauty. The material Petipa chose was an adaptation of E.T.A.Hoffmann's story The Nutcracker and the Mouse King by Alexander Dumas, called The Tale of the Nutcracker. The plot of Hoffmann's story was greatly simplified for the two-act ballet. Hoffmann's tale contains a long flashback story within its main plot titled The Tale of the Hard Nut, which explains how the prince was turned into the Nutcracker. This had to be excised for the ballet. Petipa gave Tchaikovsky extremely detailed instructions for the composition of each number, down to the tempo and number of bars. The completion of the work was interrupted for a short time when Tchaikovsky visited the United States for 25 days to conduct concerts for the opening of Carnegie Hall. Tchaikovsky composed parts of the Nutcracker in Rouen, France. History. St. Petersburg premiere. The first performance of the ballet was held as a double premiere together with Tchaikovsky's last opera Atlanta on the 18th of December 1892, at the Imperial Mariinsky Theatre in St. Petersburg, Russia. Although the libretto was by Marius Petipa, who exactly choreographed the first production, has been debated. Petipa began work on the choreography in August 1892. However, illness removed him from its completion and his assistant of 7 years, Lev Ivanov, was brought in. Although Ivanov is often credited as the choreographer, some contemporary accounts credit Petipa. The performance was conducted by Ricardo Trigard, with Antonietta Dellera as the Sugar Plum Fairy, Pavel Jet as Prince Kokelush, Stanislava Belinska as Clara, Sergei Legat as the Nutcracker Prince, and Timofey Stukolkin as Drosselmeyer. The children's roles, unlike many later productions, were performed by real children rather than adults, students of Imperial Ballet School of St. Petersburg. The first performance of the Nutcracker was not deemed a success. The reaction to the dances themselves was ambivalent. While some critics praised Dellera on her point work as the Sugar Plum Fairy, one critic called her corpulent and podgy. Olga Preobrazhenskaya as the Columbine doll was panned by one critic as completely insipid and praised as charming by another. Alexandre Benoit described the choreography of the battle scene as confusing. One cannot understand anything. Disorderly pushing about from corner to corner and running backwards and forwards. Quite amateurish. The libretto was criticized for being lopsided and for not being faithful to the Hoffmann tale. Much of the criticism focused on the featuring of children so prominently in the ballet, and many bemoaned the fact that the ballerina did not dance until the grand pas de deux near the end of the second act. Some found the transition between the mundane world of the first scene and the fantasy world of the second act too abrupt. Reception was better for Tchaikovsky's score. Some critics called it astonishingly rich in detailed inspiration and, from beginning to end, beautiful, melodious, original, and characteristic. But even this was not unanimous, as some critics found the party scene ponderous and the grand pas de deux insipid. Subsequent productions in 1919, choreographer Alexander Dumas staged a production which eliminated the Sugar Plum Fairy and her cavalier and gave their dances to Clara and the Nutcracker Prince, who were played by adults instead of children. His was the first production to do so. An abridged version of the ballet was first performed outside Russia in Budapest in 1927, with choreography by E.T.A.Hoffmann. In 1934, choreographer Vasily Vanonin staged a version of the work that addressed many of the criticisms of the original 1892 production by casting adult dancers in the roles of Clara and the Prince, as Gorski had. The Vanonin version influenced several later productions. The first complete performance outside Russia took place in England in 1934, staged by Nicholas Sergeyev after Petipa's original choreography. Annual performances of the ballet have been staged since 1952. Another abridged version of the ballet, performed by the Ballet Russe de Monte Carlo, was staged in New York City in 1940. Alexandra Fedorova, again, after Petipa's version. The ballet's first complete United States performance was on the 24th of December 1944, by the San Francisco Ballet, staged by its artistic director, William Christensen, and starring Gisela Caccialanza as the Sugar Plum Fairy. After the enormous success of this production, San Francisco Ballet has presented Nutcracker every Christmas Eve and throughout the winter season, debuting new productions in 1944, 1954, 1967, and 2004. The New York City Ballet gave its first annual performance of George Balanchine's staging of the Nutcracker in 1954. Beginning in the 1960s, the tradition of performing the complete ballet at Christmas eventually spread to the rest of the United States. Since Gorski, Vanonin and Balanchine's productions, many other choreographers have made their own versions. Some institute the changes made by Gorski and Vanonin, while others, like Balanchine, utilize the original libretto. Some notable productions include those by Rudolf Nureyev for the Royal Ballet, Yuri Grigorovich for the Bolshoi Ballet, Mikhail Baryshnikov for the American Ballet Theatre, and Peter Wright for the Royal Ballet and the Birmingham Royal Ballet. In recent years, revisionist productions, including those by Mark Morris, Matthew Bourne, and Mikhail Chemyakin, have appeared. These depart radically from both the original 1892 libretto and Vanonin's revival, while Maurice Bajat's version completely discards the original plot and characters. In addition to annual live stagings of the work, many productions have also been televised and/or released on home video rolls. The following extrapolation of the characters is drawn from an examination of the stage directions in the score. Act 1 Drive. Stahlbaum, his wife, his children, including Clara, his daughter, sometimes known as Maria Masha, Fritz, son Louise, his daughter, children, guests, parents dressed as incroyables. Drosselmeyer, his nephew, who resembles the Nutcracker Prince and is played by the same dancer. Dolls, Harlequin and Columbine, appearing out of a cabbage, Vivandière and a soldier. Nutcracker, owl, mice, sentinel, haired drummers, soldiers, mouse king, snowflakes. Act 2 Angels, Sugar Plum Fairy. Clara, Nutcracker Prince, 12 pages. Eminent members of the court. Spanish dancers, Arabian dancers, Chinese dancers, Russian dancers, Danish shepherdesses, Mother Ginger, Polichinelles, Dewdrop, Flowers, Sugar Plum Fairies. Cavalier. Synopsis. Below is a synopsis based on the original 1892 libretto by Marius Petipa. The story varies from production to production, though most follow the basic outline. The names of the characters also vary. In the original E.T.A.Hoffmann story, the young heroine is called Marie Stahlbaum and Clara is her doll's name. In the adaptation by Dumas on which Petipa based his libretto, her name is Marie Silberhaus. In still other productions, such as Baryshnikov's, Clara is Clara Stahlbaum rather than Clara Silberhaus. Act 1, Scene 1. The Stahlbaum home. It is Christmas Eve. Family and friends have gathered in the parlor to decorate the beautiful Christmas tree in preparation for the party. Once the tree is finished, the children are sent for. They stand in awe of the tree sparkling with candles and decorations. The party begins. A march is played. Presents are given out to the children. Suddenly, as the owl-topped grandmother clock strikes 8, a mysterious figure enters the room. It is Drosselmeyer, a local councilman, magician, and Clara's godfather. He is also a talented toy maker who has brought with him gifts for the children, including 4 lifelike dolls who dance to the delight of all. He then has them put away for safekeeping. Clara and Fritz are sad to see the dolls being taken away, but Drosselmeyer has yet another toy for them, a wooden nutcracker carved in the shape of a little man, used for cracking nuts. The other children ignore it, but Clara immediately takes the liking to it. Fritz, however, purposely breaks it. Clara is heartbroken. During the night, after everyone else has gone to bed, Clara returns to the parlor to check on her beloved Nutcracker. As she reaches the little bed, the clock strikes midnight and she looks up to see Drosselmeyer perched atop it. Suddenly, mice begin to fill the room and the Christmas tree begins to grow to dizzying heights. The Nutcracker also grows to life size. Clara finds herself in the midst of a battle between an army of gingerbread soldiers and the mice, led by the king. They begin to eat the soldiers. The Nutcracker appears to lead the soldiers, who are joined by tin ones and dolls who serve as doctors to carry away the wounded. As the Mouse King advances on the still wounded Nutcracker, Clara throws her slipper at him, distracting him long enough for the Nutcracker to stab him. Scene 2. A pine forest. The mice retreat and the Nutcracker is transformed into a handsome prince. He leads Clara through the moon at night to a pine forest in which the snowflakes dance around them, beckoning them on to his kingdom as the first act ends. Act 2, Scene 1. The Land of Sweets. Clara and the prince travel to the beautiful Land of Sweets, ruled by the Sugar Plum Fairy in his place until his return. He recounts for her how he had been saved from the Mouse King by Clara and had been transformed back into his own self. In honor of the young heroine, a celebration of sweets from around the world is produced. Chocolate from Spain, coffee from Arabia, tea from China, and candy canes from Russia all dance for their amusement. Danish shepherdesses perform on the flutes. Mother Ginger has her children, the Polichinelles, emerge from under her enormous hoop skirt to dance. A string of beautiful flowers perform a waltz. To conclude the night, the Sugar Plum Fairy and her cavalier perform a dance. A final waltz is performed by all the sweets, after which the Sugar Plum Fairy Harry ushers Clara and the prince down from the throne. He bows to her, she kisses Clara goodbye, and leads them to a reindeer-drawn sleigh. It takes off as they wave goodbye to all the subjects who wave back. In the original libretto, the ballet's apotheosis represents a large beehive with flying bees closely guarding the riches. Just like Swan Lake, there have been various alternative endings created in productions subsequent to the original.